What's going on, YouTube? I just want to do a real quick analysis of this dude on here. His name is. Oh, what is his name? His name is. Hold on a second. Let me just put him on here real quick.
Every year, you could be missing out on additional benefits at a low or $0 premium. See if you qualify by calling today. Call Medicare Enroll America for your free.
Implicit in this, I can't begin to explain the level of anger I have right now over this. And every American, every Georgian, Republican and Democrat alike should have that same level of anger. Mr. President, it looks like you likely lost the state of Georgia. You're investigating. There's always a possibility. I get it. You have the right to go to the courts. What you don't have the ability to do, and you can step up and say this, is stop inspiring people to commit potential acts of violence. Someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to get shot. Someone's going to get killed. And it's not right.
Maybe somebody needs to get hurt.
As Georgia voting systems manager, a Republican,
Gabriel Sterling is a lying, sniveling idiot. Okay? This dude is trying to make up excuses all over the place. Let's see the signatures, okay?
Earlier this week urging members of his party, including President Trump, to tone down the rhetoric surrounding their claims of voter fraud in Georgia and other battleground states. Sterling made the comments after many Trump supporters accused him and other election officials of rigging the vote.
Yeah, absolutely. If there was no problem with the vote, then let us see the signatures. Seriously. Let us see the signatures. This dude is nothing but, he says he voted for the president. Bullshit.
Gabriel Sterling joins us now, and we're very happy.
Look at that snip. Look at him. He is not a Republican.
Also standing by is Chad Robichaud, spokesman for the Trump
That's a Republican.
We appreciate everyone being here. Gabriel, again, thanks so much for coming back. Clearly, you sounded pretty upset in those remarks that we just played. We've seen some strong emotions from both sides during this election cycle. We've heard lawyers from the Trump campaign say they've gotten threats as well. Why did you feel it was so important to host that briefing? And would you condemn, of course, threats we've seen from all sides?
Well, out of the gate, of course, we condemn all violence. I thought I made that pretty clear, but I'll make it clear again. But what had happened that day, I'd had police protection in my house for 3 weeks. My boss, Secretary Raffensperger, had police protection for a while. His wife had received sexualized threats, but we kind of, expect some of those things to be in a higher profile position. But there was a young tech worker who was working at an elections office in Gwinnett County, who was a guy who just took a job. And he was doing a normal part of his job, and some people took some videos and said things that simply weren't true about him manipulating votes, manipulating data. They put it out as a unique name, so people tracked down his family members. They started harassing them. Back for me, the straw was they put his name out in a tweet, said, "You committed treason, may God have mercy on your soul," with a swinging noose. At that point, I was done. It's gone too far. Everybody has a right to use the courts and go.
So what exactly was he doing with the USB drive? What was he doing with the USB drive? Messing with the machines that had the votes in it. The voting machines. What was he doing with the USB drive? Seriously. He just had a USB drive in his pocket and was going to the voting machines and putting the USB drive into the voting machines. And he wasn't doing what? What was he doing?
The due process, and we are investigating every potential.
If you're investigating, you'd be investigating what he was doing. You're a lying, sniveling piece of shit.
Vote we can find. We've got double voters. We've got people who are potentially dead voters, people out of state voters. We're looking into all of them. But this idea that there's a sweeping Venezuelan-based, craziness of vote flip.
Notice when this guy lies, when he's trying to think of something, he looks to the left. Just notice that too.
We hand counted every single ballot, and it showed that the machines processed properly.
Hold on. Yes, they hand counted each ballot, but all they did is recount the ones they counted. Idiots.
The Dominion machines used in Wisconsin, that Trump won 59% of those machines. In Pennsylvania, he won 52.5% of those machines. it's always right to go through the due process and do investigations and try to find the truth. But when you keep on going with half-baked items in the 46-minute video that the president did, and I voted for the president,
Lie.
does nothing to help cool the rhetoric of people out there who are emotionally raw and upset because they are shocked and surprised at the outcome. I was shocked and surprised at the outcome in this state. You know, my life and Secretary Raffensperger's life would have been a heck of a lot easier if we'd won by 12,000 votes in this state rather than losing by 12,000 votes.
Let's jump to some new surveillance video that has come out from the state, from the arena in Atlanta, reportedly showing people taking out some suitcases is kind of how they're being described online, ballots from underneath the table, and then counting them as well. We've heard from a spokesperson testifying yesterday at a hearing in Georgia yesterday that some poll watchers and observers were told to leave the room right as this was all playing out. And Chad, I want to go to you first, just as a member of the Trump campaign, just to hear some of the concerns about what we were just playing on the screen. And then
Okay, so they're claiming that the poll workers were told to, the challengers and the media were told to leave. And when the challengers and media were told to leave, they started counting votes again. They told them they were closing, that they were done counting, they were tired. And when this happened, when they all left, these people pulled out stuff and started counting again out of boxes that were under tables and kind of tucked away. So why wouldn't we think something suspicious? Anybody in their right mind would think something suspicious.
And Gabriel, I'll have you respond. Chad, can you hear me? Just some of the concerns from this video that have surfaced.
This is one of numerous incidents that we have eyewitness testimony of, that people were swearing affidavits under the penalty of perjury, of so many things that happened in this election. I mean, we're talking 12,000 votes, so this needs to be taken seriously. Look, I get it that what Mr. Sterling's saying, that it's uncomfortable, it's difficult to have people making threats, but that's what you're elected for. And you're elected during not the easy times, but the hard times. And this is a hard time right now. Our constitutional republic is at stake. I back the president with staying. This election was not done free and fair. There were, in fact, illegal votes counted. Not every legal vote.
Tons of illegal votes.
We know that now, and the due process has to take place. And
it was like 106,000 or 110,000. Just the ones that we caught by hand.
We don't need to silence truth. This is the time that we need to stand up for truth. And what we see in this video here is things that need to be answered for. And people on both sides are very uncomfortable right now. But ultimately, what's at stake is not President Trump or Vice President Biden. What's at stake is our constitutional republic. And the American people have the right to know. And I think the president has a right to call out the things that have been done in this election.
And Gabriel, I'll ask you more specifically about sort of that video footage, because we've seen questions emerging from Trump supporters online, or just anyone who's come across this footage saying, does it seem odd that there are, again, these suitcases coming out of the table once people were allegedly told to leave the room, and then they're being counted overnight? Again, just a few questions that people have if they've come across this video. How would you answer those?
Let me start with Mr. Robichaux's statement that I was elected. I wasn't elected, just for the record. And secondarily, nobody, no elections worker, no elected official should ever have to deal with the idea of death threats, having things sent to their house, being harassed, their property, and threatening them. That's just not the way this constitutional republic is supposed to work, and that's one of the things we have to do to defend it. So I would like for the
if they're trying to take over, then yes, we have to defend it the right way.
Now, back to this video specifically. Unlike watching 90 seconds of it like we saw in the Senate hearing yesterday, we've had our investigators watch several hours of it yesterday. And what essentially happened is, and we knew about this part of this on election night itself, around 10:15, 10:20.
He said his investigators. They're not investigators. They are propagandists.
There's two groups of people in this room that are working. There are cutters, the people who are opening the envelopes. And then there's the people who are scanning, which is the ones we see on the video. And let's keep a few other things in mind. I've been in this room. It's really obvious there's video cameras everywhere. So they know they're being watched on that front. So what happened was
And they know the video cameras don't have any audio.
the cutters were done. So they were like, okay, we're done, time to go home. And the media started packing up, and then the monitors kept packing up. Now the one thing we have is a he said, she said, where the officials there said we didn't tell anybody that they had to leave. The people who left, the Republican monitor said we were told we had to leave. And we have no audio from the videotape to ascertain the absolute truth of this. What he said.
So the Republican monitors were told they had to leave. Now in Detroit, there was a training video that was released yesterday, and they're training these people to keep the Republican challengers out of there and to try to keep the media out of there.
She said on that front. But when you watch the video, the process, those aren't suitcases. Those are regular absentee ballots used in dozens of counties across the state. That's how they bring those in. Nothing was brought in without the monitors there. So everything was there. There's nothing new brought in. We didn't see somebody wheeling stuff into the room. We saw stuff that was already in the room that the monitors already saw brought in. And then you saw the processes they're doing. Essentially what happened, the elections director called the absentee coordinator saying, we're not shutting down. Tell them they got to go back to work. Because the counting people thought they were also getting to go home. So they were kind of disappointed. So you see him on his phone, walks over to them, they kind of shrug their shoulders like, crap, we got to go back to work again. So they started doing that, and then we found out that the monitors weren't there anymore. So we called their elections director, and we called our state elections board monitor, who we have placed in Fulton County under a consent decree that we had ordered because of their screw-ups in the June election. And yes, there was 82 minutes where there wasn't a person there.
Hold on, so you mean there was a screw-up in the June election? So why wouldn't there be a screw-up in this election?
But we have all the videotape that we are literally looking at right now.
Yeah.
We have to ask ourselves, in that period of time, I think it was about 3,000 to 5,000 votes that were scammed. And did this elections crew of, medium paid, tired elections workers suddenly become the Ocean's 11 crew as part of a theft of an election? Or is it more likely they were tired and irritated? We see when the SEB monitor gets there and when the investigator gets there, the armed investigator, they keep doing the exact same thing they were doing. They don't even pay any mind because it's just they're doing their regular processes. And the problem we have is people don't understand this. And when people whip people's emotions up, it goes back to the issue I was talking about before of threats being against these thousands of workers across the country.
Sure, absolutely. And I do just have a few follow-up questions here. You mentioned the fact that there's no audio, so I guess we don't know for sure whether or not someone was told they should be leaving the room or not. So, again, we're hearing testimony that was the case. If you were tuning into the hearing there. But I think, first of all, how many of those ballots would be in those carriers, as you described them, for absentee, and how many could have potentially been processed during that time frame?
Well, the weird part, the SEB monitor was there, and he was tracking. At 8:30, he said how many, he looked by each scanner and said how many had been scanned on him. And then at 12:30, when they stopped again, he said how many had been scanned on him. So an entire period of...
So we're supposed to trust this socialist person who's writing in a log, right?
Time, I think they only processed like 10,000. In the 82-minute window, it was probably closer to 2,000 or 3,000. So we have all those logs.
No, there were like 4 or 5 machines, and each machine can do 3,000 ballots an hour or something like that. So if you have 90 minutes, that's 4,500 ballots per machine times 4 or 5, which could be up to 25,000 ballots or close to.
Have the written report from the state election board monitor, and then we have the witness testimony, and we have the cameras. We sat there, we're talking about trying to find a way to put the entire video out online so everybody can see from beginning to end what all happened. So
they're talking about putting the video on. This guy is just...
come to their own conclusions, but watching 90 seconds, and if you have the feeling that something bad's going on, you can say, oh my gosh, something bad's going on. Think all in context, it's normal. It's not the best thing to not have the monitors there, but it's not against the law. And it's the responsibility of the monitors to figure out what's happening there. And it sucks, but it's sort of chaotic. And as those of you who don't know, Fulton County is one of our problematic counties that always has problems.
Okay, I gotta finish this video. But this guy right here is a douchebag. And yeah, you're gonna get threats when you try to steal an election. That's how it goes. Man up, scumbag.